Welcome to r/malicious compliance, where we share stories of people conforming to the letter but not the spirit of a request. And today we have 3 great stories, so subscribe, hit the like button, and let's begin. The first story. Karen boss ordered me to buy printer toner. I spent a lot of money from her credit card. The second story. Don't peeve off a software engineer, because ruinous problems might arise. The third story. I was 5 minutes late. I can make an appointment for Monday and show up 72 hours early. The first story is, get printer toner, no matter the cost? Okay. The first real job I ever had was as a legal assistant for a sole practitioner family law attorney. I was 20 years old, fresh out of college, and had never had a real job before. I had 0 legal experience, 0 office experience, 0 secretarial experience. The attorney, who we shall call Karen, knew this when she hired me. Karen was at least 60 years old and had had her private practice for 20 plus years. When she interviewed me, she had told me that she had just lost her 3rd legal assistant of the year. That's a huge red flag that I wish I had not missed. My first day at work, I realized that Karen was a disorganized, chaotic, manipulative liar and an absolute disaster to work with. At the time of the malicious compliance, I had spent the last 3 months being more or less bullied by this woman. Called incompetent repeatedly, yelled at for not knowing things I had never been trained on, talked down on, demeaned. I took it all because I was young, and I didn't want to leave my first job so soon because it had been drilled in my head that if you left before a year, it looked bad on your resume. Hindsight is 20/20. If you're in a similar situation, find a new job. Future employers only care if you leave multiple jobs after short time periods working there. It was the morning of a day that Karen had an afternoon trial, and in her truly disorganized and awful fashion, she had waited until the night before to finalize the exhibits. For those who don't know, you typically need to submit exhibits at least a few business days before a trial or hearing, so the court has time to process them. The day of the hearing, most attorneys bring 2 copies of the exhibits in binders with them, an attorney copy for them and a bench copy for the judge. That morning, I came into work to a post-it note on my desk that said she had submitted the exhibits electronically last night, and she wanted to make her attorney copy and the bench copy and put them in 3-ring binders. Okay, can do. I started printing 2 copies of the exhibits. I got the bench copy taken care of and ready, and then started to print the exhibits for Karen's copy. About halfway through printing Karen's copy, the printer said it was out of toner. Okay, no worries. I knew for a fact that we had another box of toner in the storage area, because it was my job to do inventory, and I had just done inventory and made note of a box of toner. I went to the storage room, grabbed the box of toner, for the printer, Rico black toner cartridge. Can't remember the exact model, so let's say it was Model X, and went back to the printer. When I opened the box, the toner inside was not Model X. It wasn't even a Rico printer, and it was clearly empty. I have no idea how long it had been there, but it definitely predated my time there. I got that awful cold wash feeling and went back to the storage area. I tore through everything. There was not another box of toner. I remember how sick to my stomach I felt. She had to leave for a trial in an hour, and her copy of the exhibits wasn't finished. After I was done freaking out in the storage area, I walked into her office and informed her that we were out of toner. I explained that we had the right box, but it had an empty bottle of toner of the wrong variety in it. She leveled me with the coldest, meanest stare I've ever had and said, "That's supposed to be your problem to deal with." Tone like ice, face like stone. I was completely SHing myself. I tried to explain again that the box was correct, but the toner inside was not, and she held her hand up in my face. "I'm going to take the bench copy and my incomplete copy, and I'm going to trial," she said. Her voice was like steel. "Are you even capable of understanding how badly you've effed up?" I nodded. "Do you understand that I should fire you because this is completely your fault? Because you're incompetent and incapable of listening?" I nodded again. She stood up from her desk, pushed past me, and went to my desk to pick up the binders. When she came back to her desk, she handed me her personal credit card. "I don't care what you have to do or who you have to call or what it costs, but if I come back at the end of the day and the printer has no toner, you better not be here, and I better not see you again." Then she left. I stood there for a few minutes absorbing what the F had just happened, and then I started to get peeved off. I was smart. I was a good employee. I put up with way more SH than I should have put up with. I bent over backwards to help this disorganized crazy bee. And also, who the F puts an empty toner cartridge in the wrong box and puts it back in the storage area? She said to do whatever I had to do to get the toner. So cue malicious compliance. It's important to note here that because Karen was disorganized and bad at running her business, she hadn't gotten any payments from any clients at least since I had started. So at least 3 months. I knew that she was running low on funds in her business spending account and racking up debt on her personal account for business expenditures because I had access to her email and saw a credit card statement. I knew she was tight on money because she would get overdue bill notices in the mail all the time. At that moment, I also did not give an F. So I get on the phone with Rico Supplies and explain to the nice lady on the phone that I'm in desperate need of toner. Nice lady informs me that they can't get me any today, and the earliest that I could get it in the mail with regular shipping would be 3 days from then. That simply wouldn't do. Is there a rush option? I asked. There is a rush and there's an overnight. Rush will get it to you in 2 days. Overnight will get it to you tomorrow morning, she answered. How much is overnight? I asked, as the first feelings of evil satisfaction fluttered in my chest. Overnight shipping is going to run you $185 plus tax, she informed me. I grinned. So overnight shipping with the cost of 2 Model X toners will be how much? I asked. About $450 plus tax. Perfect. I gave her the credit card information and placed the order happily. I was happy that I had managed to burn almost $500 of money that Karen did not have, but still hadn't solved the problem of having toner there today. So next up, I placed a call to our printer repairman, who I had become very friendly with because he also hated Karen. She was technologically incompetent and rude to him whenever he came to repair the printer. I explained the situation to him and asked him if he happened to have a spare Model X toner on him. To my delight, he did happen to have a toner on him. But I'll have to rearrange my route to drop it off to you, so there's a delivery fee, he told me. And you're gonna have to pay for the toner, obviously. It'll be about $200. Not a problem, I said. Come on by. Printer repairman brought me the toner, happily ran Karen's card for another $200, high-fived me and left me to my own devices. Later, when Karen came back from the trial, she came back to the printer happily chugging out some new disclosure we had gotten from clients, and she seemed honestly peeved that I had managed to get toner. She dumped her stuff on my desk, went into her office, and I didn't see or speak to her for the rest of the day. The next day, things were very quiet all morning. Just before lunch, the overnight toner came in. Karen only communicated with me through post-it note instructions and through emails. When I came back from lunch, Karen was on the phone, and her door was cracked open just enough for me to hear her on the phone. So, there's no way you can cancel the order? I heard her ask. Silence for a moment. Yes, I understand that we already have the toner, but I don't want to pay that much for it. More silence. No, the order was not fraud. I authorized my assistant to place it. More silence. Fine. Then I heard the phone slam down. I know that in the grand scheme of things, my malicious compliance was not all that fantastic, but at the time I felt like Andy Sachs staring down Miranda Priestley, telling her that the twins both had a copy of the Harry Potter book. My malicious compliance also had the additional benefit of somehow making Karen a lot nicer to me going forward. She still sucked to work with, and I still hated being there, but she never called me incompetent again. She also never told me that I was incapable of listening again, because I did exactly what she asked me to do. I got the effing toner. The next story is, oh, you want my files today? Sure. I was litigating against a large corporation pro se in federal civil court, and literally all of my discovery was stuff that the company I was suing had given to me in a lower court. Now, mind you, this is federal court, so since I knew all my evidence for the case had come from that company, I didn't give over the files since they already possessed it. Their attorneys tried to get sanctions. Judge told me to just send them the file by the deadline. So on the last day, literally on the 11th hour, I fully complied with the federal order, mandating that I send in my whole discovery package. I sent the 400 pages via email, certified mail, and facsimile. Here's the kicker. I had virtual fax while the law firm had a traditional fax machine. For those of you who do not understand the implication of this, a traditional fax machine can only hold 150 pages while digital fax service is literally unlimited. Traditional fax machines will throw an error if the machine runs out of paper. Digital fax service will reattempt a delivery until the fax service or machine transmits a code, indicating success. And traditional machines, FYI, are slow. Several hours into the next day, I got a call from opposing counsel asking me to do sending them the same 150 pages. The law firm had exactly one fax machine. Every time the fax machine ran out of paper, a bored paralegal would stop by, fill the hopper with more paper, and walk away. Problem is that this sitch tied up the machine all day, and the firm was left unable to receive inbound faxes until my job was completed. I couldn't stop the faxes because it was the third-party fax service that was the problem. I got more calls, increasingly pleading and frantic in tone, and had to explain the situation. Because the fax service was digital, and nobody was aware of the limitations physical fax machines had, they didn't put in a limit on the number of attempts to resend the fax. Because maybe no one in their right mind will send 400 page faces in this day and age of email. So this law firm literally had no choice but to either shut down their fax line for the few days that it took the fax service to fix their code, or pay a paralegal big bucks to do nothing but babysit the fax line, and continuously refill the hopper through my 400-page fax. MC all the way, baby. Don't peeve off a software engineer, because ruinous problems might arise. The last story is, my appointment was canceled for being 5 minutes late. I guess I have to reschedule. This happened about 4 years ago, when I got a summer job at my university. The job was working for professors that I had worked with before, and they asked me last minute to teach a summer workshop to 9th and 10th graders. So with less than 2 weeks before the camp starts, I have a bunch of paperwork to do first, including clearance that says I can work with kids. One of these is an official FBI check for which they need my fingerprints. Well, I needed to do the physical fingerprinting right away in order to get the result in time. Luckily, I was able to book a fingerprinting appointment for that Friday, booked 24 hours in advance as required, which would be just barely enough time to get the result. That Friday, I catch the subway to campus, and it's atrociously slow. I'll admit I should have planned for this. The subway here is always behind. Anyway, I end up slightly late getting to campus, so I literally run to the police station and enter the front room at exactly 5 minutes after my appointment time. I know this because as I stepped through the door, I felt my phone buzz with what turned out to be a "your appointment has been canceled" email. I speak to the security/cop behind bulletproof glass inside, and I learn the appointment was canceled after he checks my confirmation number. Apparently, they're automatically canceled if you're not checked in within 5 minutes. Obviously, this is outrageous, but I'm usually a patient guy. I ask if I can book a new appointment. That's no good since it would have to be Monday or later. So I grab a coffee from across the street and return to sit inside the police station to try and solve this with some Googling, while I slip into a more and more frantic state of frustration. I can't find anywhere in the city that can fingerprint me before Monday. But here's what really pushed me over the edge. While I'm sitting there, at this point 30 minutes past my appointment time, someone else comes in for fingerprints. She shows up 5 minutes early. They take her in immediately, and she's out 5 minutes before her appointment was even scheduled to begin. The entire thing took her about 2 minutes. I point out the cop behind the glass as politely as I can, that clearly someone could see me right now because her appointment is already over. Why can't I have the current slot? But the cop insists that since my appointment was canceled, my registration info is no longer in the system, and I can't be seen today. That's why the idea comes to me, and I confirm with him that showing up early is not a problem, because they would have my apartment and registration info in the system. You see where I'm going with this. So I quietly sit back down and take out my phone. About 10 minutes later, I calmly approach him again and say, "Hello, I have a new appointment to be fingerprinted. I'm about 72 hours early." I've never seen such an exasperated sigh in my life, but he checked my new confirmation number and everything was in order. Within 10 minutes, I was walking back out after getting fingerprinted. Oh, definitely I wasn't really sure it would work. I think he was mostly just sick of me at that point though. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe.